Hey everybody, it's Neil Tipton with Waterstone Mortgage. The most common question I'm getting these days is what are rates and when are they coming down? So I want to record this brief video to explain where rates were, where they are today, how we got here, when we expect them to go down, and to what degree we expect them to go down. So I'm going to share my screen here and flip through a few PowerPoint slides to help. First, the chart you're looking at here is a graph of 30-year fixed rate mortgages dating back to the early 70s. You can see that while historically interest rates today are still very low, we've certainly had a significant increase since things bottomed out in 2020. Just this year, interest rates have gone from about 3% up to a little bit over 7% today. So now what has caused this to happen? Well, it's all been driven by inflation. As measured by the Consumer Price Index, inflation has been really elevated the last year or so. You can see going back to 2002, inflation tends to be under about 5%. And it was even negative for about a year following the global financial crisis. It's been pretty moderate for most of the last decade. And that's really why we've had a long 10 or so year run of abnormally low interest rates. You can see that inflation dipped during the COVID shutdowns in early 2020, but then really ever since then, it's been rising at a rapid pace to the point that inflation has now hit a 40-year high. The good news is that it does seem to have peaked in the last month or so with a small year-over-year reduction. So although the Federal Reserve's rate hikes have been pretty painful, they do appear to be working. The next chart shows the relationship between mortgage rates, the blue line, and the Consumer Price Index, the gray line. You can see that over a short period of time in the early 80s, there was a big drop in inflation that was followed by a significant reduction in mortgage rates. And then for most of the last 30 years, we've had moderate inflation with slightly declining interest rates. What was interesting was in 2020, you saw a significant spike in inflation with mortgage rates slow to react. And that was all due to the Federal Reserve propping up the housing market by purchasing mortgage-backed securities, which kept mortgage rates artificially low. But then you can see once that stops, mortgage rates started picking up. If I were to extend this chart beyond 2020, you'd see mortgage rates continue to increase as it closely follows inflation. So the million-dollar question is, when are interest rates going to go down? Well, we got some decent news last Thursday when the September Consumer Price Index report was released. It wasn't great news, but it wasn't bad news. And I expect that to continue next week when the October reading is released on November 10th. It's always the second Thursday of the month. But I feel like we've peaked with interest rates into the low sevens. We've already seen them start to turn a little here in the last few days, and I think that we'll pick up some steam starting with next week's announcement. From there, as long as inflation continues to moderate like I expect it to, interest rates should continue to come down, and it wouldn't surprise me to see them back in the fives in 3 to 6 months. Sure, we've had some short-term pain, especially with these Fed rate hikes, but long-term, I think we've seen the worst of it and things should start improving. So circle November 10th on your calendar as that should be a catalyst for lower rates, and hopefully soon we'll be showing this graphic as we see things coming down. If you have any questions about this or any other topic, please reach out to me at 301-893-1200. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.